Amelia, my sister, thank you. Thank you so much for your leadership, for your sisterhood, for being the amazing person that you are. Oh, what an absolute honor it is to be acknowledged on the evening we're celebrating the extraordinary 50-year legacy of Liberty Hill Foundation. And to receive this recognition alongside the fearless and tireless Angelica Salas. I don't know where you are, Angelica, but that is beyond an honor. Thank you for the past leaders of Liberty Hill and the co-chairs tonight, and to the staff and board of Liberty Hill for your collective work and stewardship of this event, and to all the founders being honored today, congratulations, and thank you for your work and vision. You know, while we acknowledge the 50-year history of Liberty Hill that brought us to this point, tonight is more than an anniversary. It's a reunion, it's a celebration, and it's an affirmation of the power of people to drive change. Tonight, I thought, for me, this is a Sankofa moment, an opportunity to honor and draw lessons from the past to help inform our path forward. And thus, for me, tonight is not only a reflection on the powerful legacy, but a moment to collectively stake our claim on the future we are fighting for and the just future that we know we can build. But before I continue, I want to acknowledge and extend deep gratitude to those who helped me to this point. And I want to start with people in this room. First, to my Weingart Foundation family, from my board chair, Dr. Bob Ross, even though he wasn't able to be here tonight, but the entire Weingart board, including Eileen Adams, Jacqueline Wagner, who are here tonight. Those who couldn't make it, thank you for your commitment and support. And to the Weingart staff, too many to name, but you know the magic that is Weingart comes from you. And I would not be able to stand here tonight without the work that you do, so thank you. And to so many colleagues in the field who have held me up over the years, I'm not gonna start naming people because I will forget, but so many people in this room. I will shout out my Southern California Blacks in Philanthropy, SCBIP family, the Revived Uplifting Change community. You all really came out tonight, thank you. But there's so many people in this room who have seen me through important moments of my life and career, and I'm grateful. And then to the people who are truly, truly at the center of my life, who hold me up every single day. My husband, Fred, my children, William and Jade. You are my inspiration. I love you beyond measure, and I'm forever grateful for your love and your support. So I was introduced to the great work of Liberty Hill, I guess early in its fourth decade, under the leadership of the brilliant, can I say it again, brilliant Kathy Blumenfield. And now I have the privilege of leading alongside the visionary, strategic, inspiring Shane Murphy Goldsmith. Shane, you are a true force in philanthropy. We need you in this work, and I'm ready to do this with you. So Liberty Hill family, I want to say not only congratulations on 50 years of turning people power into real progress, but thank you for giving us a reason to come together and celebrate tonight. The Upton Sinclair Dinner has always been the best party with a purpose. And I don't know about you, but tonight I needed this. The daily barrage of attacks on our people, on our humanity, and our democracy can at times feel almost defeating. Almost. But then I step into rooms like tonight, and I can feel the power and the energy in this room, and I am reminded not only of the change that we've made, but because of it, the change that I know is possible. And as Liberty Hill honors the legacy of those whose visionary leadership and tireless work built their foundation, I want to honor those who built mine. And I always start with my grandmother, born in 1901, Louise Alone Thompson Patterson. This is my grandmother who was inspired after hearing W.E.B. Du Bois speak at UC Berkeley before her graduation in 1923. My grandmother who became a leader in the Free Scottsboro Boys campaign and helped organize what is known as the first Civil Rights March in Washington, D.C. in their defense in 1933, and who organized literally all her life, including serving as the executive secretary of the New York chapter of the Free Angela Davis campaign in 1970 at the age of nearly 70 years old. Yes, she was truly a fearless woman before her time who lived to be 1 week shy of her 98th birthday, and I am grateful for all that she poured into me and to my young adult life. And then to my mother, Mary Louise Patterson, who has an incredible story of her own, which she is actually writing. One of the fiercest, most brilliant advocates I know, who at the age of 18 left Brooklyn, New York to go to college and medical school in Russia. A young Black woman, the only American student at the university. These are women who blazed trails when society told them they couldn't or shouldn't. Women who made a way when there was no way. This is what we have always done. I will note, the men in my family were pretty courageous too. My maternal grandfather, who took a petition to the UN with Paul Robeson in 1951 to hold this country accountable to the systemic violence faced by Black people. And then to my father, who went to prison at the age of 20 in 1966, one of the first enlisted men to do so as part of the Fort Hood 3 for his refusal to fight in Vietnam. These are, yes, the shoulders that I stand on, but these are the shoulders that we all stand on. People who spent their lives working to ensure that this country's promise of liberty and justice were actually delivered to everyone. Led by their lived experience as Black people, they believed deeply, though, in cross-racial solidarity and understood the importance of class and that building a multiracial democracy is not a zero-sum endeavor. And my family gave me more, though, than a political education. They gave me a home that was deeply rooted in unconditional love and a strong moral compass. They showed me that injustice was not something to adapt to, but something to transform. That striving for what is right, building the future our children deserve, isn't just about grand gestures or words. I do have a lot of words. But it's about how we show up for each other every single day with courage, with clarity, and with care. That foundation shaped me, and that my leadership is grounded in that love, in a belief that every person deserves dignity, every community holds the solutions to its own challenges. And I know the challenges we are facing are real. We're still trying to recover from the devastating fires. Our neighbors are still facing incarceration and deportation. We are witnessing the rollback of hard-fought gains in voting rights, our civil rights, our work towards racial justice, and the dismantling of institutions and structures that have been in place since the civil rights movement. An environment that's designed to sow fear and division as we face diminishing government capacity, mass budget cuts, rollback of social programs. To see the progress that we, and so many of you, have contributed to under direct attack, it is devastating, it is enraging, it is heartbreaking. You need to take a breath, because I know we cannot retreat. And it is in spaces like this, where we have organizers and donors and advocates and community leaders and civic leaders, this is where my energy is restored. So I say thank you for being here, for being people who believe and show up for one another. And many keep reminding us, from Dr. King to Brian Stevenson, that the backlash, the anti-democratic backlash against our struggle for equity and justice is as old as this nation. Backlash and regression have always been a part of the work towards progress and true justice for all in this country. And I don't diminish the real harm and fear that people face in this moment. And I absolutely recognize the privileged place that I stand in. But do not forget, we have made progress, as Shane said, and it has never been a straight line in this country. In the course of history, we're actually still relatively early in this experiment of American democracy. And now it's our turn to continue the work that was laid before us, to keep building the country we know that's actually possible for all of us. And I hold on to that now as I stand here with the incredible privilege and honor of leading the Weingart Foundation, where we are working to build a Southern California that is a living example of racial, social, and economic justice for all. And at this moment, it is more important to me than ever that we stand as an example of what it looks like to remain steadfast in our commitment to justice. However, business as usual is not going to be enough. And we all know it's very easy in philanthropy to stay business as usual and keep doing the good work we've always done. But we know if we do that, we simply just maintain the status quo. And the challenges our communities are facing are real, urgent, and compounded by systems that were never designed to serve the masses of us. So we can't prioritize our comfort over clarity or mission. If we are truly to be grounded in love, we also must be grounded in courage and in truth. And there could be no reconciliation in this country without truth. And there could be no healing without truth. And if it were ever a question, it is so clear we desperately need healing in this country now, for everyone. Because we're all impacted by the legacies of injustice in this country. We're all impacted by the harms that communities are facing today. Whether you experience it directly or not, it impacts us all. And we must find a new way forward. So what does that mean at the Weingart Foundation? Now is a time for us to both protect and defend our frontline partners and communities and our democracy, while we also build and innovate the new way forward. It means we have to do more than writing checks, and don't get me wrong, writing checks are first and foremost most important, I know that. But it also means listening, it means learning, it means strategizing together with our partners. I'm also looking at some of my CEOs out here that I talk to all the time, like Richard, Brenda. It means trusting in the leadership already rooted in community and resourcing it in ways that reflect respect, not control. It also means we do things our partners ask us to do when we talk to them. And what they tell us is, do not walk away from your commitment to racial justice or efforts to support cross-racial solidarity. They also said, don't forget racial equity work is inherently intersectional, and our approach intersects across race and class and gender and is inclusive of all vulnerable communities. They asked us to strengthen and broaden our beyond the grant capacities in narrative work and communications and expand our innovative use of all our capital. But do not forget, multi-year unrestricted operating support remains the highest priority. And please, free up as much money as possible, and please make it larger and longer. And they asked us to own our unique role as a player in this movement and work to please organize the field. So we've invited our partners to help us develop a shared vision that is centered around a commitment to a Southern California with a thriving multiracial democracy, where no one is marginalized based on their identity. All people in every community can flourish with equity and dignity and care, where communities steward land and housing and local economies with a mindset of collective care and responsibility, and our public systems are actually designed and built to deliver that for everyone. And if philanthropy is truly going to be a vehicle to help drive that kind of transformational change, it has got to come from the ground up. We have to build power. And it also needs the humility to transform itself. And that's the work we're committed to at Weingart. Not just funding change and building power, but being willing to change ourselves. We need to remove barriers to access, relinquish control, truly act and develop processes that demonstrate trust and respect for the community who hold the solutions but not enough of the financial resources. And that also means we must tell the full story, not just of where we are, but how we got here, how wealth was created and extracted. And naming that history is not about blame, but it's about responsibility, our responsibility to make sure that the harmful parts of our history are not repeated. And we recognize the wealth that established our foundation was created through policies and practices that excluded communities of color from building opportunities. Thus, we believe philanthropy should support repair and a more just future. And that also means our mission doesn't stop at the 5% we're mandated to give from our endowment for grant making. But we align all our capital with mission, That means mission-related and program-related investments. And that means at moments like now when our partners must go above and beyond and communities are under attack, so must we. That means we're going beyond the 5%. This year, that translated into another $16 million to our partners. It also means additional financial support for partners to take care of their people, for wellness and self-care, collective care, so they can stay in this work. So looking ahead, Weingart is committed to continuing this work with deeper intention. Our vision of a thriving Southern California can only be achieved with a vibrant multiracial democracy. Yet our democracy is only as strong as the people organized to protect it. So sustained investment in organizing and civic engagement and leadership development in our most impacted communities among our youth ensures that our partners are ready for the long haul. Communities also cannot thrive without an economy that works for all. So advancing economic justice is one of the most important reparative actions foundations can take as stewards of wealth that was largely accumulated through practices and systems of extraction from vulnerable communities. That means our investment efforts that create pathways to economic independence and ownership, individual and community ownership. That means providing access to capital for entrepreneurs who are locked out of traditional sources and establishing new models of resources where wealth are collectively managed and shared and can be returned to the stewardship of the communities we serve. That will bring us closer to a world in which all people can thrive. And from youth-led movements to community land trusts and worker-owned cooperatives, the innovation is already happening. Communities know how to care for one another. We see it over and over again. Our job is to support those communities and to continually refine our strategy to reflect the wisdom coming directly from communities. We also need new narratives as we foster solidarity across communities. We see what harmful narratives can do. We need to build narrative power for positive change, work that lays the foundation for unifying stories that can bring all of us and all of it together. We need to fund shared narratives and stories. And I know this is generational work. It is deep, it is transformational, and is unfinished. And I know, as my ancestors knew, that I will not see all of the outcomes in my lifetime. But I move forward with faith, with strategy, with purpose. I trust in the seeds we plant and the people who will water them. And my hope is that when people look back on this chapter of Weingart's history, they will see a foundation that chose courage over comfort, that stood rooted in love and an unwavering pursuit of justice, a foundation that moved with heart and humility and purpose, and that chose every day to step into the moment fully. And in moments when I begin to feel defeated, I only need to remember my grandmother, who under conditions that I could never imagine, continued to fight and dream of a world that truly cared for us all, even when her humanity was so blatantly denied. Who paved the way for you? Every one of us has an ancestor who paved a way, who had to make sacrifices that allowed each of us to be here, no matter where they came from. For me, that is a source of strength. I remember Shane saying to me some time ago at dinner, we were all made for a time such as this. That is why we are here. So now is the time for us to all step fully into what our purpose is. We're not all called to the front lines, but we can all support organizations who are. Liberty Hill makes it very easy to do so. And at last year's Upton Sinclair Dinner, Deepak Bhargava, president of Freedom Together Foundation, reminded us that fear is contagious, but so is courage. Yet I'm beginning to realize even people who are unhappy with where we are and say they want change are often afraid of the new. They're afraid of the change. But that's actually where they want us. We cannot stand still in fear. And we need to know we're not standing alone. Our power is in our solidarity and in our ability to share a collective vision of what we know is possible. And as Audre Lorde said, when I dare to be powerful, to use my strength in service of my vision, then it becomes less and less important whether I am afraid. Together, the future we envision, peace, justice, freedom, dignity, care for all, it's all possible if we can find our role to play. And we don't have to all do the same thing. It takes all of us doing our part. Invest in, join an organization that's doing some of the work. And at a time when everything is being torn down, we can create the new. Now is the time for us to build so we can show a new way forward when we get on the other side of this. Otherwise, we risk going right back to the status quo, and that cannot be an option. We are only here because people dared believe and fight for the future they would never see, and now it is our turn. Liberty Hill family, for 50 years, you have championed a more just Los Angeles. There aren't many institutions that can say the same. But where do we want to be in 50 years when we're celebrating 100 years of Liberty Hill? We are writing that history now. The work to fulfill the promise of this country continues with us. So whatever time I have left, I am committed to driving us towards that vision. And let us all find a way to take another step together today. Thank you.